Hello from carpcompass.co.uk. Today I'm going to be showing you the rig I use in my article, How to Catch Carp on the Cheap, which is linked below in the comments. The rig itself is the IQ2D rig, and I'm just going to show you how to tie that rig, and also in the article you can see the fish it helps me catch. I'll start off by showing you the rig itself. Most people have probably seen this rig before many times. It's been used a lot by Danny Fairbrass, and it's caught him countless numbers of fish, and himself he genuinely believes it helps him catch more. I agree when used in the right situation, but I think it's a spot on rig. I use it a lot in my fishing, particularly when fishing the way I do in the article itself, which was over a lot of corn. As you can see, it gets its name from the D, which the bait can freely move along. I like to add on a micro ring swivel, just gives the bait a bit more movement. And I'll just talk you through now what I use to make this, and then we'll get on to making the rig. So starting with the bait that I use, this is Corda's slow sinking IB flavoured corn. I use 2 pieces of this. Depending on what the bottom's like, I may mix this up with a slow sinking on the top of the bait and a pop up on the bottom, or vice versa, depending on the bottom itself, and also what if there's a strong undertow. I don't want it moving about too much, but there's enough buoyancy in these slow sinking corns for them to just pop up a tiny bit, with the weight of that micro swivel in there and the hook. So firstly I use slow sinking corn, IB flavoured from Corda. Love the stuff. Then we come down to the micro swivel itself. It's simple. Micro swivel, you can use anyone's. Personally I use Corda's. I just think they make really good tackle that never lets me down. So I tend to use their stuff quite a lot. To put the bait on, I use the bait stop from the pack of slow sinking corn, just because it's yellow and it matches up. I then use Corda's bait floss. You get 50 meters of the stuff, and this is the first one that I bought, and as you can see there's still tons of the stuff left, and I use it all the time. Then down to the material itself. I use the IQ2 fluorocarbon in a 15 pounds. I think sometimes the 20 is just a little too heavy, so I prefer to go with the 15. I sometimes use the 20, but most of the time, 99% of the time with this rig, I use the 15. You get 20 meters of the stuff, and it's it's spot on. I then use hook wires. I like a nice big hook. The bait's quite small, but as you can see, the hook's quite big, and just because I just find the hook hold is much better with a larger hook, and you just tend to nail them that little bit easier with a bigger hook. and you can just guarantee that they're not getting away and you're not getting done. So I used the curved shanks, size 4. These are micro barbed, obviously barbless if the water doesn't allow barbs, but wherever I can I use a barb. Just helps that hook stay in that little little easier, and also I think you get less movement with the barb. So with barbless hooks, you can often find that it does a bit of damage to the fish's mouth. That being said, if you are using barbs, making sure that you can get them out as easy as possible without damaging the fish's mouth is the best way forward, rather than just yanking it out, because you can do more damage that way than you can with the barbless. So I'll talk you through the rig itself. You've got 2 pieces of I-beak horn, the micro swivel attached to that D, just giving it free movement. So if it's in the fish's mouth and it's trying to blow that bait out, it's just going to go back to that back end of that hook towards the eye of the hook, and just help pulling it towards that hook point and pulling that hook point in, rather than it being up here somewhere and getting this sort of movement, which is going to help that fish free itself. The IQ2, I use about 16 centimeters is sort of my go-to length, which is what this is, and then halfway down you've just got a small sinker. I'm not sure if you can see that, but just one of the Corda's small sinkers, and then at the end just a figure of 8 loop knot. All I've used to tie the hook on, firstly I use whipping knot. So tie the whipping knot, move it into position and tighten it up, and then you just have this long tag end, which is really good for making that loop with. And then make the loop and then tie a knotless knot, so through the eye towards the point of the hook, whipping round 8 times, and I go up twice, and then back through the eye of the hook towards the point of the hook again. So let's get making this rig, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. So just get the hook out, size 4 curved shank. Then I tend to take quite a bit of this. I don't want to finish making the rig and find that when I'm tying that last loop in, that I've not got enough line to make the rig as long as I want. So I'm always relatively excessive with how much I take. So I'll just show you in comparison. That's how much I've got past the loop, so there's plenty there. It is a bit wasteful, but I'd just like to know, yeah, I've got enough basically. So to do the whipping knot, I just make myself a nice big loop like this, so you can see both tag ends, one there and one there, so there's not much between them. And then sort of flip it over itself like that and hold those 2 tag ends together, and then take the hook in my right hand, holding it so the eye of the hook is pointing towards my left hand, and I just slip that into that grip that I've got over the line. So you're holding like this. I don't know if you can see that very well. Let's get some behind. So, like so. Then what you do to make your whipping knot, holding that nice and tight, you go round past, down past the point of the hook, and then over that tag end, and then down past the point of the hook again. This time making sure you go over your previous loop towards your gripped fingers, and then repeat that process, so you're sort of whipping up towards the eye of the hook. And I like to go around about 5 or 6 times, and then pinch that. So those loops that I've made, I've now pinched. And what I tend to do is, you can see this tag end just sticking out here, is I take my crimps and I just grab that tag end and then pull that through. Don't worry about it looping a little bit, just keep pulling, it'll sort itself out. And as you can see, that loop's just getting smaller and smaller until you pull it through. Don't tighten it too much straight away. You need to have some movement in this at first, you know, just to position it where you want. Now, where I position it is just so it's around about where the barb is, where the knot finishes. What I like about these big hooks as well is sometimes with the smaller hooks, this section here between the barb coming round and up, that bit from the bottom of the hook there up to where your knot is can sometimes be a bit small, and I think it can sometimes prevent the hook getting in and hooking as well as it can. With a bigger hook, you've just got that little bit more you know, length of hook, you know, to go into the fish's mouth. So what I do, once I'm happy with the position of that, I just take that, get my crimps again, grab the other tag end, and then pull that nice and tight. Again, as you can see, my main bit of line here, so I've not tightened it all the way, my main bit of line here is just offset, so I'm just going to sort of set that and pull it round. This is the good thing about, you know, not tightening that knot up all the way. So I've just pulled that round so it's in line with the hook, so I've not got, you know, a wonky D, and then pull that nice and tight, and that's your whipping knot done. Then just get rid of that smaller tag end, it should look like that. All wrong. It's probably the most wrong looking, you know, knot on a fish hook you can imagine. You know, you're not going to catch anything with that like that. So the next part is to take one of the micro swivels. Just get one of these. One of these micro swivels. Again, you can pick them up from anywhere and use any ones. I prefer to use corders. And just thread that onto the longer bit of line, and let it fall down to the hook. Then all we're going to do now is make that D shape that the rig is known for. And the way we're going to do this is thread through the eye of the hook towards the point, pull that through, and you can see that D now starting to look like it should. And what I tend to do now is just make that D a bit bigger than I actually want it. The reason for that is, as you start whipping up with your knotless knot, you're then going to start to make that loop a little bit smaller. So then all you do is tie a knotless knot. I'm sure you know how to do this, but you know, I'll run through it. Holding that D, so you've got that, using that tag end and go round. Make sure when you go round you're not it's sort of where the eye has been made, it's sort of a joint. I always like to make sure I go round where the joint isn't. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I go round and round again, and then just pinch that, take this tag end, push it through the eye of the hook again towards the point, pull that down, there you go. So that's now your D made. I've not pulled that completely tight yet. Again, I like to leave that bit, pulling it tight until the end, until once I've got my loop in, and I just take the puller tools and just give it a good old pull to make sure it's as tight as possible and as neat as possible. But that's the general gist of that bit. Next thing I do is just take one of these sinkers, again from Corda. You get quite a few, you get 4 steps, you get about 12 of them, and I think they were only about £2 odd, so then, you know, it's not, you know, massive expenditure, but you can use, you know, a little bit of putty, or you know, a split shot, or whatever you want. I just think these look that little bit neater. So threading through, fold that over, just like to wet it a little bit, and then push that sinker down, push it over nice and gently, and I pull this down roughly to where I want it, about there. Get rid of your sinkers, and then all we need to do, measure it out and put that figure of 8 loop knot on. So to do your figure of 8 loop knot is make a loop. Now what I've done is I've measured 16 centimeters from the eye of the hook to where I'm going to put the loop knot. So make your loop. With that loop, make another loop around your finger. So you've got your original loop and this new loop that you've made. Take that new loop that you've made and just twist it just once, and then take your original loop and just poke that through, and then pull that tight. Again, I've not tightened it up completely because I'm going to take the puller tools to it now, and just make sure that goes as tight as it can. So puller tool on the hook, the other puller tool just through the loop knot that I've just made, and then gently pull it tight a little bit. And what I actually like to do here is where that tag end's coming out, just take that and grab it in my teeth, and then as I'm pulling it, I just like to move it a little bit. It just helps work that knot down a little bit. So tighten that up. Sometimes if you don't keep an eye on it, your loop there can move slightly as your knotless knot tightens up. So just make sure you tie your knotless knot as tight as you can when you do it, but also just keep an eye on it as it goes around. Get rid of them puller tools, get rid of your tag end, and there you go. One figure of 8, loop knot down to the hook, knotless knot, your D, then a whipping knot with that micro swivel to give your bait plenty of movement. All I do now is just position that sinker a little bit better, and all that sinker does is as your bait lands, as your lead lands, it helps push out that hook bait, just so it's, you know, every time it's as far away from your lead as possible. What I also like to use as well, because I use the hybrid lead clips, but I also like to use some of these Corda rubbers. Now I use the full thing, and when it's on the rig, and the reason why I use these is because I like to be able to change my rigs if I have to. So I have my hybrid lead, my lead clip, and attached to a quick link, and what I do is I pull this rubber over just to make sure that the rig doesn't get off, but I also pull this over the link in there and over the loop, just to make sure that's got some rigidity. So if you imagine that's over, you know, pulled over there, that gives that some rigidity, so as it lands, that again is going to push it out, similar to using one of the anti-tangle sleeves. But you get a ton of these for, you know, a lot cheaper, and you just, you know, thread it on. And I tend to leave these then, so we take this one, I just thread it on because the line's quite stiff, it just goes through nice and easy. Thread it on, and then I push this down over the eye, and I just leave them in my rig wallet exactly like that. And then all I have to do is clip that end on the quick clip, push this up to cover the quick clip, and up to, you know, up to the lead clip, and then that's you know, done, safe. That's never going to come off. So putting bait on here, what I use in the article, which this video is going to be connected to, is 2 pieces of slow sinking sweet corn. So all I use to add these on is a bit of that bait floss, so get those out, 2 of them. Bait floss, you don't need masses of it, I'll take probably about that much. Like I say, this stuff lasts forever. You get 50 meters of the stuff, and each time you're using, you know, 2 or 3 inches. Thread that through the spare eye on your micro swivel. I like to pull it tight first, get them to almost meld together a little bit. Quick tip though, leave one a little bit shorter than the other. It just makes it that little bit easier to undo them later. Then take your corn, thread them onto your baiting needle. They're quite tough to put on these, as they're sort of a rubbery plastic. I like to put them on offset. I don't like them to look too uniform. I'm not fussed if, you know, there's overhanging bits or if they look slightly wonky. I want to give the impression like that it's 2 pieces of corn that have just landed, rather than, you know, 2 pieces of uniform corn that you know, specifically put there. loop it on as you would with you know, with your hair. Pull that through, and then pull your first piece of corn, pull that swivel through. It takes a little bit of pulling because, like I say, they are rubber, and you want it just so that barrel on that swivel is still showing on the side closest to your D. That just makes sure there's plenty of movement, you know, and your bait can freely move. Pull that second piece down. Like I say, you want them to be offset. Well, I want them to be offset and not too uniform, so they look a little bit messy, like there's two pieces of corn that have just fell on top of each other. And then peel that longer bit off, so you can just grab that second piece. It just makes life easier. Then all you need to do, take your bait stop, thread it on. I hate these things, they never go where you need them to go. And all I use is a couple of granny knots to get that going. So, one. And once I've done that first one, I try and poke it down that hole a little bit. It's not the easiest thing to get done with them being rubber, and just start pulling tight, helping it along with your fingers. Again, pulling tight. Keep pushing it in as well. Just make sure that it doesn't stick out too much. Fiddle with it a bit if it needs it, and sometimes they just don't play ball. Then finish it off with a couple more granny knots. Sorted. Get rid of them tag ends. Some people like to burn them. I'm not a fan myself. I think they do it to make it look, you know, as neat as possible. But I don't think it matters, to be honest. Once you cut them nice and short, they're in there and they're fine. But as you can see, loads of movement on that bait. You know, it just spins round, moves up and down that D. You know, and that's what makes it great. Once that's in the fish's mouth, if that, you know, you get a blowback, it just comes down to the eye hook, and that, if anything, that's just going to help it, you know, catch in the fish's mouth even better. Good old palm test. Straight away, you know, it's catching on. There you go. Then, to finish it off, one of these brown rubbers. Stick it over there. Pull it down just over the eye. And then once I clip that on, clip it on at the loop, and then I just pull this straight over the swivel, right up to the left lip if I can, and that just gives it that little bit more kick when your bait lands. But there it is, IQ2 D-rig, and that's what I use in the the article where we caught 4 fish over a 24-hour session, just over corn, nothing else, and it was a relatively quick session, but the article's about fishing on the cheap, so less than a bag of boilies, and you're talking your corn for spodding, and also this fake corn as well. So there it is, IQ2 D-rig. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Like it, share it, take a look at our website. We list a number of places, a number of fisheries, places you can go fishing. The whole idea of the website is to help people find places to fish, and also to help them along the way, such as rig tutorials, like this one, articles, and we're hoping to get into doing gear reviews soon. So there it is. I'll link it in the comments, the description below, but give us a look, like, share, let us know what you think. Thanks very much. Bye now.